Hey everyone, this is Retro Revamped, and today I'll be showcasing Ayumu's Crafting Buddy. Ayumu's Crafting Buddy is a lightweight crafting program made by Ayumu to help people on Endless Online craft different pieces of gear. Right off the bat, I'll show you the home screen and then dive into some of the features, and then after that I'll probably dive into some of the configuration. On the home screen you have a search bar, a add button, a remove button, and a folder icon. The search works just how you would expect it would. If you want to search for an item, say a sewing kit, you just type it in and it will populate with your results. Moving on, in the body of the home screen you have all of the possible items that have been added to craft. Hovering over any item will display a description of that item and anything else that has been added in, like details such as this water bucket that just says fill buckets 2 maps east of Avon. Moving along, if you try to craft something, you just select it and it will open up a variation screen. On here it will ask you how to make the different components of that. If you have a particular way you want to make it, you can choose it here, or you can select randomly and go from there. For the 4 strings for this, let's say that we make it all out of jute, just to be simple. You hit submit, and it calculates your totals. At the bottom you have your raw ingredients, which goes over all of the raw items that you need for it and the total cost. By right-clicking, you can select all and copy it, or you can copy just a selection of it. Copy selected, copy all. Up at this top section is the crafting tree. Dropping this menu down, you can see all of the components that make up ancient gloves, and dropping each of those down, you can see all of the components that make up those components. As we made our string, you can see that it chose to use 20 jute because that's what we put in when we chose this variation. And you can break down each of these and see what each component is made out of. The math for the tree shows the crafting cost, and you would multiply that by the number over here at the front. So for making basic fur, you would do 20 eons times 6, but of course all of that is calculated for you down at the bottom. Clicking the home button takes you back to the home screen. We have a few different options in here. You might have noticed that you don't see all of your raw ingredients, but a quick way to see what all has been added to it is to go to the Remove Items button, open that up, and here is a complete list of everything that is actually in the program. Moving on, we have the Add Items button, and here you can add in raw materials or you can add in craftable items. For this, we will do both, and I'll walk you through the steps. Adding a raw material, just click on the Add button, and then the raw material. Put in the name. For this, we're going to call it testing. Since it's a raw material, it may or may not have a cost. Some things like bean or glue you might want to buy, and you can add in a cost here. Otherwise, you can skip that and you can put in a name. We'll call it, let's just call it jute so that we have an image, since there's already jute in the images folder. When adding an image, you have to put the extension of the file. So if this is a JPEG, you need to put .jpeg. If it's a PNG file, or put .png. By adding that now, because it's a raw material, it's not going to show up in here, but it will show up in here. And of course we use the icon for jute, so there it is. To delete it, just delete, hit yes, and now it has been removed and it's no longer in here. Let's move on. We can add in recipes for items, and for that we can add in multiple variations. So for this example, let's go ahead and do a variation. Let's say it has 2 variations. Go ahead and submit that. We're going to call this testing again. For the variation 1, let's say it's made out of jute. So we'll do 1 jute. It is case sensitive. The crafting cost, let's say it costs 10 eons to craft it. for variation 2, let's say it uses 1 iron and 2 strings. Watch for the case sensitive. All of the items should start with a capital letter. And say the crafting cost for this is 20. For the image, let's just stick with our jute.png. For the description, let's just put in testing. And then we'll add another line to test. All right. So now we have an item called testing that has multiple recipes. Scrolling down, we should find it down here. It looks like jute. And when we click on it, we have multiple options. We can make it out of 1 jute and 10 eons, or 1 iron and 2 strings. Of course, if we choose the strings option, we have to craft the strings. This is where we make a mistake. I put string instead of strings, and strings is actually with an S. It's one of the only items that actually has an S on it. So let's correct that. Let's open up our folder, and we can actually find our recipes configuration. Now we could delete it and start over, or we can open this up. I'm using Notepad++, but you can edit it with Notepad. Whatever you're comfortable with. They all work the same. Let's go ahead and find testing. I think it's just called test, yes. All right, so in here we can see our description and our problem right there. 2 strings. It should say strings. Let's save that. We're going to leave this open because we'll come back to it, and I'll show you some more of the configuration later. Let's just minimize that. We can exit out of this for now. Now, when we open up testing, sometimes this happens. You can refresh it by opening up a menu and close it. Or if that doesn't update, you can close out of the program and relaunch it. All right, now it should be updated. Let's scroll back down to our testing, open that up, and now we can see that strings has been put in correctly. So when I choose to make it out of iron and 2 strings and I submit this, now it populates the correct question. How would you like to make your strings? Let's do web and silk. Submit that. And as you can see, our tree has been updated. And we have chosen how to make the strings. And of course the iron that doesn't have any variants. And the testing. Now we put in a description earlier. That will show up whenever you hover over that item. So hovering over testing, which is highlighted, it has the description popping up there. Or if I highlight the item up top, we have the description right there as well. By clicking through these, the icon at the top will change, and it will only show the description if that is the item that is selected. Alright, so we've gone over adding some items. We went over raw materials and craftable items. The only last one that we have is multiple crafting items, no. And for a single item, it's just like doing a variation, except there's only one. So we can do testing 2. Ingredients. Let's stick with something easy. Let's do 1 iron. Remember, we have to have a capital. And then you always separate your items with a comma. Then we'll do 3 web. That's simple. Crafting cost, make it 1K, and then the images, we can make it, let's just do strings. Making sure we have the S. And we're not going to put a description for this one. And you just add that in. And of course we have our testing 2 with the strings icon. Open that up, and it's just how we put it. Super easy to add items, super easy to remove items. We no longer need those. So let's just go ahead and remove them. Let's get rid of testing. Oh, wrong one. And testing 2. Testing 2. All right, I've gone over the home screen, adding, removing. Let's go over some of the things in the folder. So in the folder, as we saw earlier, I opened up the recipes. We also have the images. Whenever you add a new item, instead of just using an image that's already in there, you can download your own images, drop them in this folder. I know it supports PNG. It should also support JPEG. I even think it supports icon files, but don't quote me on that. That is where you put all your images. In the receipts configuration, or recipes configuration, you can open that back up. Because we added and removed stuff, it is going to update. In here we have a few sections. We have the very top section, which is your raw materials. Now the formatting of this top line is important to the program. If you change that top line, it will mess it up. For raw materials, there's only 3 categories. You have item, image, and cost. If it doesn't have a cost, it doesn't have to have it, but those are your 3 modifiers for this section. All of your raw materials will populate here. If you scroll down, we will hit the craftable items. Just like that first line, this line needs to remain how it is. Do not change that line because the program looks for it to see what is a craftable item and what is a raw material. Here's an example of something with variations. As you can see, we have the item name, you have variation, and the cost for that variation 2, and the cost for that variation. Moving down, you have the image, which is gearframe.png. And if we scroll down, we'll even find that some of these have a description. So ancient gloves, this doesn't have variations, so it just says ingredients, and then you have your ingredients, your cost, your image, which is ancientgloves.png, your description. And the format of this is kind of weird. You have the first line of your description, and then every line after that has to have a tab space. Otherwise, it will not work. So this is your first line, second line, third line, fourth line. And I think that was done to keep it separated from making it think it's an image or a cost or some other kind of string. So that is the format of your configuration file. You can add items in here. They do not have to be in alphabetical order as long as they fall in the right category. That is a simple overview of your configuration and your images. One really cool thing about this program is that when you first launch the program, it has a bunch of default recipes and images already programmed into it. It will add those into this folder. If you delete them, I'm just going to remove them because I've added some items to mine. If you delete them and you relaunch the program, it will check to see if they're there, and if it's not there, it will add in the defaults. If you make changes, it won't mess with them in any way. If you completely delete all the stuff in the recipes config, but the recipes config is still there, it won't show anything. But if you mess up, you can always just select them, delete them, and it will regenerate them for you. So that's pretty cool. Of course, I'm going to delete those and put mine back in here. And I think that's about it. Special thanks to Ayumu for creating this. It's a really cool little program. It looks like it has a ton of potential. Lots of items still need to be populated to it, but being able to add them in yourself really makes this tool useful, and I can see it being used for many other games other than just Endless Online. Thank you to everyone who's interested in this and checking this video out. If you'd like to, you can subscribe, and take it easy.